Okay, hello and welcome. The Southeastern Library Association and SELA's Public Library section are pleased to present this, the first webinar in our series this summer. This webinar is about summer reading program ideas. So the first thing I want to do is introduce the presenters in this webinar today. First, I'm your first presenter. My name is Kate Engelbrecht. I'm a librarian at Charlotte-Mecklenburg Library in North Carolina. I work at the main branch with adults currently. We also have Beth Anderson joining us today. She is the library director at Burnsville Public Library in West Virginia. And then we also have Kara Hunter, who's the teen lead librarian at the South County Regional location in the Charlotte-Mecklenburg Library System in North Carolina. Thank you all for doing this today. So I know that summer reading has already started for all of us for 2019, but we wanted to do this webinar now so that it would give you a few ideas about what to change or tweak with your summer programs, and then that could kind of marinate in the back of your head all during summer 2019 so that it would be ready for you to implement for summer 2020. I know that I'm someone who really likes to plan way ahead, and I can start planning things, a year to 18 months out. So here are a few transition questions, kind of big picture questions to help you think about changes that you might want to make to your summer reading program. So what do our library users want? What's the best way to help users learn and develop in a summer reading program? How can we reach and engage non-readers? So we spend a lot of time talking about how to build a summer reading program that appeals to both super readers, people who read 8 or 10 hours a day, and then also people who are not readers. And it's really hard to make both of those groups happy. And then how do we encourage the behaviors that we want to see through a summer reading program? So just keep those questions in the back of your mind and maybe bring them out again in September and see if you get some ideas. So I'm going to give you an overview of kind of the developmental goals for what we're trying to do with our summer reading program. And we're going to take this age by age, starting with our youngest readers. We call them babies, or we read, WEE. But this age group typically is 0 to 3 or 0 to 4 years old. So summer reading for these youngest participants, babies, is designed to develop pre-reading skills, which are the skills that children need to have when they start kindergarten so that they are ready to learn to read when they enter kindergarten. What you see on this slide, phonological awareness, print motivation, print awareness, vocabulary, narrative skill, and letter knowledge, this comes straight from the Every Child Ready to Read curriculum, which provides suggested activities for parents and babies to do together, like reading together for 20 minutes a day. If you're not a children's person, this may not be something you're familiar with, so let me tell you what this looks like. Even though I'm an adult person, I do outreach story times during the summer to keep my hand in. And I see this when I visit a daycare for the first time. I walk in, pull a book out of my pocket to sit down and read to the kids. The children that have been read to on a regular basis immediately start paying attention to me. They stop what they're doing, they sit down and prepare to listen. These children already know how to hold a book, how to turn the pages, and that the letters on the page mean something. And this is exactly what they'll need to know to go into kindergarten and learn to read and be successful. So this is what we build our baby summer reading program towards, getting them to that readiness. Okay, next we have children. Traditionally, most summer library reading programs have targeted school-age children. And when we're talking about school-age children, the age range can be like 5 to 11 or kindergarten through 5th grade. There are many ways to define this. Research shows that school-age children can lose 2 to 3 months of reading achievement over the summer, Students that experience summer learning loss do not catch up in September when they return to school. Research shows that they stay behind their classmates without special help or intervention. Summer learning loss is also cumulative. By the time children move to middle school, they can be 2 or 3 grade levels behind their classmates in reading. According to a 2014 white paper by the Collaborative Summer Library Program, summer learning loss is responsible for 2/3 of the achievement gap among ninth graders. So that we know that the most important thing that children can do during the summer to prevent learning loss is to read for 20 minutes a day. Research shows that it doesn't matter so much what children read, but the 20 minutes a day is key. It's the sweet spot. We typically don't see any significant increase at 30 minutes per day or 60 minutes per day. The other key here is that children have to have access to books to be able to read and avoid summer learning loss, which is also known as the summer slide, although I tend to try not to use that term because it doesn't have the negative connotation as summer learning loss. The reading for 20 minutes per day is the foundation that our summer reading programs are built on. And I just want to point out, so this slide is in here because I want to point out that summer learning loss disproportionately affects students from low-income households. Those are typically the households that don't have a lot of books available for kids. Research has shown that students from higher income households, even if they're not reading for 20 minutes a day, are not showing the same summer learning loss because they're engaging in other types of educational activities, camps and prep classes and things like that. So we really, when we talk about where we want to focus our efforts for summer reading, it's students from lower income households that don't have access to books, and then also students that are struggling to read on grade level. So I want to step back for just a minute I just want to zoom in for a minute and show you what this looks like in my community. So this map right here is my city, the city of Charlotte. Uptown Charlotte is kind of this yellow dot in the middle right here. And what this map is showing you is where the book deserts are in my community. And by book deserts, we mean households that have 10 or less books. So these are the kids that if they're not going to school every day, they don't have access to books. As I mentioned earlier, one of the biggest indicators that can predict whether or not children are affected by summer learning loss is their access to books. A child can't read for 20 minutes a day if there's no book to read. So this map comes from a local nonprofit that works on improving literacy rates among third graders. And you can see that the red areas are where the book deserts are. And interestingly enough, these red areas also mirror the concentrations of poverty in our community. We can also see the same red area highlighted when we look for students that are not testing on grade level in middle school. So it's all kind of blending together in my community. And I just want to point out that before the recession, these concentrations were kind of in a little crescent right here across the top of the city. And the effect of the recession was to spread them down either side. So now instead of like a little crown or a crescent, we have a horseshoe of poverty in my community. Okay, so our next age group is teens. So it's also important for teens to read for 20 minutes per day and avoid summer learning loss, but there's much more that we can do for teens. We spend a lot of time at Charlotte-Mecklenburg Library talking about the 40 developmental assets when planning teen programs and services. These 40 developmental assets were developed by the Search Institute researchers, and they are very specific building blocks for the healthy development of teens. This is what teens need to do or learn to grow into healthy, caring, responsible adults. And there's lots of information about this online. I'm just going to kind of hit the highlights here. Okay, good. And then here I've just pulled out a couple of the developmental assets that we try to hit with our summer program. So the first one is reading for pleasure. That's perfect. It lines up really great with what we try to do at the library. We want teens to come in and find a book that they'll love at the library. The next one says teens know how to plan ahead and make choices. Again, that lines up really well with our summer reading program. We want them to sign up for the summer reading program, make a plan on how to complete it, complete that program, and do what they need to do to finish. The next one, teen spends 3 or more hours per week in some type of community organization. We really beef up our teen programming during the summer, and then we also have a really robust teen volunteer program. And that's what we're trying to hit here. We want them to visit the library, spend time with us, and attend teen programs. And then the last one here, young person perceives that adults in the community value youth. We really try to hit this by building relationships with our teen customers and also our teen volunteers, and really giving them a good work relationship with the library and with library staff. Okay, and then our last age group, adults. So adults are not typically the focus of a summer reading program. However, adults are the majority in most library service areas, and they have a direct influence on children and teens in their household. They also vote and pay taxes and advocate for the library. Adults can also get substantial benefits from a summer reading program. So I'm a bit of a research nerd, so I am going to share with you a recent study from the National Institutes of Health confirmed that daily mental training through things such as reading and solving math problems can improve cognitive function in normal adults. So that's not really news. We've known that for a while, that things like this can help seniors stave off the onset of Alzheimer's and dementia. What's new about this study is that adults in their 20s and 30s also showed significant improvement in their mental function with these types of activities. So really, basically, everyone we serve as an adult can benefit. There was also a great neuroscience study from the University of Texas. Different groups of senior adults engaged in different activities on a regular basis. One group did something easy. I think they listened to classical music. The next group did something mediumly hard, like crossword puzzles. And the last group of seniors did something really hard. They learned how to use a computer and edit photos in Photoshop. So only the adults in the hard group showed significant improvement in their cognitive function and memory. So my takeaway from that is you have to challenge your brain to keep it in good shape. So interestingly, also, other recommended activities for adults include having meaningful conversations with people that have different values and beliefs than you, getting regular exercise, 45 minutes, 3 days a week. And the conclusion here is we really want adults to be lifelong learners, try new things, and stretch outside their comfort zone. Okay, so that's the end of my portion of the webinar, and I'm going to pass it off to Beth, and she's going to tell you all about her summer program at Burnsville Public Library.
Thank you, Kate. Can everybody hear me okay? When I took over as director July 1st of 2015, we had minimal programming here in Burnsville. And our summer reading program consisted of 3 Fridays in July. That was it. That first year, since I didn't start until July 1st, we had a volunteer and her daughter that ran the program. It was the 3 Fridays in July. That was it. Since then, the expansion has taken place. In 2016, we started our program in June. We ran it through the first or second week in August on Wednesdays. I didn't want to try too much too fast. So we did try in 2016, we did have a separate early literacy program on Fridays, the same weeks. But I wanted to offer the kids in our area more than what they were getting. Because in our little town, we are it through the summer. they have school through the school year, but there's no other forms of activity. We have a park and basketball that they can go and they can play basketball or they can swing and slide. But there's no swimming pool, there's no bike trail, there's no skate park, there's nothing except the library. So I wanted to offer more. And we were able to partner with Braxton County Schools in 2016 to kick off a new summer initiative. And it wasn't as successful the first year as we would have liked, but in 2017, we added more intervention services. We had 2 teachers here, 3 days a week each, and they offered tutoring or engagement services for children whose parents would sign them up. In 2017, we had a group of about 6 kids that came in at least once a week for cursive writing classes with a teacher. One of the intervention teachers taught it. It really helped. In 2018, we expanded to Monday through Friday programming to go along with our summer feeding program through a partnership with our local food bank. So from 10:30 to 4:30 last year, Monday through Friday, we had different topics. You can go ahead and click to the next slide, Kate. We had different topics. These are our forms for 2017 and 2018. We did Maker Monday, Movie Tuesday, Wonderful Wednesday, Tremendous Thursday, Fabulous Friday. On Monday, they did all kinds of, we've got mag formers, Legos, connects, contraptions, and the kids just built all day Monday, whether it was with the blocks or, they would get on the computer and look up how to do certain things with the mag formers or the Legos. Tuesday, we watched a movie and did activities. Wednesday, we did an activity, and then we had our children's program. Thursday was board games, dice games, card games. We tried to keep them away from the computer games because they do too much of that at home. And then Friday was art day. We did modeling clay, we did painting, we did pastels, we did all different kinds of art, different mediums. We did science experiments throughout the week. We really tried to beef it up. We had different presentations come in. We hired a musician for the first time ever to come. It wasn't as successful as I would have liked, but we are possibly maybe looking at trying that again in the future. But my programming budget is next to nothing. So when I pay $200 to have somebody entertain my children for a couple of hours, because nobody but my children show up for the program, I have a real hard time justifying that again. But we had people from the West Virginia DHH or DNR, Department of Natural Resources, come in. We had, they talked about, one gentleman brought snakes, another gentleman brought like elk horns that they had shed, talked about at the local, we call it the game farm. It's got a technical name, but we just call it the game farm, and why they have the animals there and how they're helping to protect them and improve their livelihood. We had a partnership between our local family resource network and Braxton County Schools. They came in and they made tie-dyed t-shirts with the kids one day. We had a lady come from our extension office and do like healthy eating and healthy food choices and growing your own food. We had another lady come from the extension office and she did yoga with the kids for just a few programs. You can go ahead for the next one. This year, this is our schedule. We are doing We started out with Super Y Camp last week. If you do not have a relationship with your public broadcasting station or your state public broadcasting station, I would strongly suggest you reach out. They're a wonderful resource, and they can put you into so many other resources. The Super Y Camp is for 3 to 6 year olds. It works on phonics. It's based on the show Super Y. The camp is completely self-contained. They give you everything. All you have to do is make copies. Everything else is right there. You don't have to create any of the curriculum. It's all right there. We started last week again with our partnership with the Mountaineer Food Bank with our Mountaineer Meals program. Every day from 12 to every Monday through Friday from 12 to 1, any child that comes in 18 and younger can have a healthy lunch. We did Odd Squad Camp in the afternoon last week, which was 6 to 10 year olds with math and math concepts. We do have the intervention enrichment program again this year. And then we started yesterday with our Monday through Friday programming. Monday is going to be Maker Monday. Tuesday and Wednesday are still kind of fluid. Thursday is going to be the games, or it's going to be science and engineering day. And then Friday is going to be art day. And so a couple of the programs that we already have planned, we have Chasing the Moon, which is another PBS program. It's going to be a snippet of their new movie, Chasing the Moon, the Chasing the Moon series that's going to air in July. We're going to do a children's program for that and a community program. We have the ladies that did the tie-dyed t-shirts. They're going to come and make Galaxy shirts with all of the participants. And then we have the Cranberry Glade Snake guy, who was a big hit last year. He's coming back. He brings a rattlesnake, he brings a copperhead, and then he brings snakes that the kids can actually touch. And he brings a big rat snake that they can actually put around their neck and touch and hold. The kids really love it. And then we do have a young lady who just graduated from Marshall University for journalism. She's coming at the end of July to do a program with the kids, an interactive program with the kids about journalism. So we have 1.03 employees here in Burnsville. So I work 30 to 35 hours a week. We have an assistant that works 11. So it can be done. You can expand your programs. You can offer more if there is a need for your community. We are trying to revamp our teen scene, which was highly successful in 2017, not so much in 2018, but we're hoping to kick it off and revamp it and get it going again this year. We do an adult program on Monday evenings. We've had gentlemen come in and teach about bees, beekeeping. Other topics are going to be financial literacy, how to create a living will, medical power of attorney, just to name a few. And then we will try our early childhood program again on Fridays. Unfortunately, that program, along with our teen program, is not very popular for some reason, but it can be done, and we're living proof that a small library can do big things for their community. And I'm finished with my portion. If you want to move on to Kara.
Great. Thank you, Beth.
Hi, everyone. I'm Kara Hunter. I'm just going to talk a little bit about our summer break program so at the Charlotte-Mecklenburg Library. In 2016, we transitioned from just a traditional summer reading program to a summer learning program called Summer Break, Read, Learn, Explore. And we expanded this program beyond reading to include other learning activities. So we also include activities on write, play, create, explore, and give. And some of these activities, we include, traditional things, so like writing a letter, for younger children, learning to write ABCs, spell them their name, or it can be, writing a book or starting to write a letter, to, it can be any number of things. They can write their own recommended activities in, but it can also, we have suggestions for them, and these activities span a lot of different things, just to give some people over different age groups, adults, teens, children, and then babies, just some suggestions. And we also point them to local organizations. So when we say explore, sometimes we'll also suggest like museums in the area, or to visit historical places, or to learn about, learn something new as far as our library resources. So we have access here at the Charlotte-Mecklenburg Library to like lynda.com. So some of our resources point there so that they can expand just beyond that reading alone to other learning things. Because of course, people learn by reading, but we also learn in many different ways. We also have a new website. So the old website just had summer reading and just where you went on and you logged in the time. And the new website allows you to sign up with as individuals, families, or as groups. And you can log both your reading time and these learning activities. So you can see an example there of the type of writing of, there's some different activities, but they can also add in something else that they want to do to participate in our program. We also, each year, we've had, sign-up incentives and completion incentives to try and encourage people to complete the program and just register for the program. For our program at sign-up, we've gotten Wendy's Junior Frosty coupons, so with our partnership with Wendy's, and we offer a $5 fine waiver just to sign up. They can also earn up to $15 other dollars in fine waivers for completing 10, 15, and 20 hours of reading. So we only give fine waivers for reading to encourage them to keep those library cards usable. At completion, babies and children receive a popular book to encourage that reading and literacy, and summer discourage that summer learning loss for the summer. And teens we've revamped it a little bit to try and encourage teens maybe who don't love to read, or maybe they already have a lot of books. So we offer a popular book or book bag, and each year we do extensive research to try and find out, what they might like, as well as, babies and children offering the popular books. We order quite a number of those, and each year we reevaluate that too, to include things in different languages. So we have a high population of Spanish speakers here, so sometimes we will also do that as well, so that those Spanish speakers can learn something in their own language, and then as they get older, we have, of course, things in English. Adults, each year we reevaluate this. We haven't always had adult incentives for completion. But so, like I said, that's changed in the last couple years. Sometimes we got a book bag last year, and this year, because we didn't want to offer a book bag each year, budget is a concern for us too, especially with such a large program. This year they can choose a magnet or a notebook. So we really want to encourage that whole literacy incentives versus other incentives. Like in the past, we had toys or games or something small that they could use, or something technological, like a flash drive or speakers. Thanks. And this year we wanted to encourage them to, one, promote the library. So our magnets have the Charlotte-Mecklenburg Library logo, and the same thing with the notebooks, so that we encourage them to write or something useful. This is a concern for us because we have gotten larger and larger each year. So when we first, it's grown quite a bit, especially in the last couple years. We at first, a couple years ago, had about 30,000 registrants, and now we're up to 38,000, close to 39,000. So that's a lot of people and a lot of incentives. So we're always asking, what is sustainable for the future? In the past, we had encouraged weekly prizes. So we had drawings each week for those people so that we could encourage them to read each week of the summer and to stay on top of that. So either log reading time or an activity with the website each week. And they were focused on experience prizes. So that could be, like I said, attending a museum, attending a night's baseball game, or going to a local amusement park, or going paddle boating, something they could do as a family, but also as individuals. But this past year, we decided not to do that, but that was a couple years ago that we did weekly prizes, and we did that for about 2 years, and we got bigger each year, and we had when you're doing weekly prizes, of course, that's a lot time intensive, both to get the information for the winners and then to contact them. And then if they don't respond back to you, then it can kind of snowball. So we each year do an evaluation on that too. So in 2018, Carowinds, which is a local amusement park, approached us for a partnership. And they donated about 2,000 tickets last year in 2018. So we added kind of an extra level onto our program. So to complete summer break, you have to either read 20 hours or you have to do at least 10 hours of reading and 10 learning activities. Thanks, Beth. Yeah. And so, which is awesome. So we have a lot of completers. So just to kind of give you a kind of ballpark, last year, like I said, we had about 38,000 registrants, so people who signed up for the program, and we had about 12,000 people complete. But Carowinds only gave us 2,000 tickets, so which is awesome. But also, how do we do that? So we had to add an extra level of participation in our program. So what we said was, if they logged each week. So we did 9 out of the 10 weeks of our summer break program last year. And then they were eligible to come and pick up a Carowinds ticket, as well as having, completing the program. And they have to have a library card to win this, to be eligible to get this ticket. But we had a lot of people who were kind of upset maybe about how many tickets were distributed, and so that's just kind of a concern. It was a brand new partnership for us. We didn't know how things would run, but we also knew we would run into just complications, issues. So this year they of course doubled that, but to give us about 4,000, but we also know that might be a concern this year. We know that we're probably going to run out, same thing as we did last year. So we have done a lot of extra legwork to plan for summer break and to kind of best distribute that and communicate to the public. Last year, our partnership came right before summer break. I mean, it was like we got final confirmation in April, and summer break starts June 1st. So that's a very quick turnaround to be able to plan and be able to implement. We'd already planned for and purchased our print materials last year. So this year we've just done a lot of extra thought and consideration to improving that partnership and improving our communication with the public about at least the Carowinds tickets and our program. Okay, let me pass it back over.
Okay, so that's our presentation that we had for you today. What questions do you all have? I feel like that was a lot of information to throw at you all.
I have a question for you. This is Beth. The Carowinds, did you all approach them or did they approach you for the partnership?
For this one, we actually asked for donations for the weekly prizes in the past, and we had sent them a letter thanking them for their donation of tickets in the past, and they approached us about this partnership.
I have a slightly more cynical viewpoint. I think that, they get a lot of asks to donate tickets to a bunch of different organizations. And by giving their tickets to the library, it takes a lot of work off of them because now they can just say, all of our tickets go to the library. If you want donated tickets, talk to the library, and we handle it all for them.
Right.
But that's a very cynical view.
I don't have a question per se, but our local Subway in Lewis County reached out to us, and we're partnering with them this summer. So every kid 7 and under that reads 30 books, they get a free Happy Meal or whatever it's called from Subway this year as a alternative to getting like fast food. Because in the past we've partnered with McDonald's, and they give us free kids meals every year for our summer reading program, but Subway reached out to us this year, so it's a little healthier option. So you may want to talk to your Subways.
Yeah, that's a great partnership. Yeah.
We've actually had this summer, we've had more teens sign up than we anticipated, which is really wonderful.
That is great because that's a tough group to try to get.
And the prizes for them, I think I'm going to reach out to like our local pool and museum now because that really was helpful, I think. Because I need little kids, it's easy prizes for them, but the teens is where I struggle.
Yeah, I think the most successful teen prizes we've used, a book has only been mildly popular, but the year that we did the cardboard speakers, those were really popular. Flash drives were popular, but that was about 5 or 10 years ago. And then we also gave out earbuds for a couple years in a row, and that was very popular with teens too.
Yeah, you can never have too many earbuds.
Heck no.
Yeah. The speakers were very popular and they could decorate them because they were just cardboard. But on the other hand, like you're giving out speakers in a library. Like you don't want them to use them in the library.
Yeah. Last year we made a lot of musical instruments. That was fun.
Mm-hmm. So we have 2 more webinars coming up in this series. In July, there'll be a library management webinar. And the bulk of that is going to be managers are going to talk through some scenarios and how they would handle them. And then in August, towards the end of August, we're doing a webinar that talks about career paths in public libraries. If any of you are interested in those, I encourage you to register. Register is open now for the library management one and probably in the next week or 2 for the career paths webinar.